Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Sohn. The Biden administration has a pattern of abusing their power and getting struck down in court over and over again. As you know, I have significant concerns about your record, that you've demonstrated a hostility to conservative speech in particular, to Fox News in particular. And the FCC is a very dangerous place for a regulator to have the authority to silence political views with which you disagree. But we now have a second issue that implicates ethics that I think is deeply serious. You were a board member of the nonprofit Sports Fans Coalition, New York, which operated the low-cast streaming service. You joined the board knowing that they had been sued for copyright infringement. And a federal district court entered summary judgment for the plaintiffs that they had engaged in copyright infringement, that they had broken the law. Ultimately, the case was settled. And I've got to say, Ms. Sohn, the timing of the settlement stinks. Biden administration announced their intent to nominate you on October 26, 2021. The confidential settlement agreement was signed on October 27th, 2021, the day after the intent to nominate. Your actual nomination was made October 28th, the next day, and on that day, a public settlement was filed. The public settlement claimed that the plaintiffs, ABC, NBC, CBS, were going to be paid $32 million, that they had $32 million in damages. That was the public settlement announced on the day of your nomination. What nobody knew at the time is that the secret settlement cut $32 million down to $700,000. That's 2 cents on the dollar. I've litigated a lot of cases. I've settled a lot of cases. I don't recall ever settling a case that my clients had won, that we had a victorious court judgment for 2 cents on the dollar. But you know what? I've never had a case against someone who was about to be the regulator of my industry. On the face of that, that's a sweetheart deal. Did you disclose that sweetheart deal paid to the company on whose board you served, or rather not paid from the company, that is essentially a gift from the companies the FCC regulate? Did you disclose to this committee that agreement?
I did. So, Senator, let me just explain first. I was not a party. There's no sweetheart deal, okay? Number one, I was never financially liable from the day I stepped on the SFCNY board because there was a case narrowing agreement.
Did you disclose the agreement to this committee?
I did. I said the matter was settled.
No. Okay.
Let me explain.
Hold on a second. The matter was settled doesn't answer. Did you disclose the secret settlement agreement that settled it for $700,000, not the $32 million that was public? Did you disclose it to this committee? Yes or no?
I did. I did when
you disclosed the $700,000 secret settlement.
No, because I was not allowed. Okay. I was not permitted.
Ms. Sohn, that's actually incorrect. What provision of the agreement says you're not allowed to? All right, I have it in front of me. It's provision 6.0, and here's what it says. I'm going to quote it. Quote, no party will communicate or authorize anyone to contact or communicate with the media or press, orally or in writing or otherwise, concerning the agreement or the order. Last time I checked, the United States Senate is not the press. There's nothing in this agreement that prohibits you from disclosing it to the Senate. You did not disclose it to the Senate. Let me ask you this. Did you disclose it to the White House?
Well, again,
everything yes or no? Did you disclose the $700,000 secret settlement to the White House?
No,
yes
I did not. So
you did not disclose it to the White House. The entire vetting they did, nobody asked about this?
I was vetted long before. Can I talk about the timing, Senator, if I may?
Sure.
Okay. The settlement, first of all, it's important. I was not a party to this settlement, and I can explain why I signed the settlement agreement if you want to talk about that. Okay?
You knew about it.
I was not a I was not a party.
Did you know about it?
Did I know about what?
The settlement, the secret settlement agreement, the 2 cents on the dollar, the $31,300,000 that ABC, NBC, and CBS effectively gave away to the company on whose board you sat.
Of course I did.
The day you were nominated.
No. Okay, because I didn't sign it until after I was nominated.
Why does it matter when you signed it?
If you
knew about it and you didn't disclose it to this committee.
Yes, I did. Okay. Let me just step back for a second. Okay. Can we talk about the timing? Because you're wrong on the timing. Okay. There was a term sheet, an enforceable term sheet that I did not sign that lays out.
Which date that I said is wrong?
That was October 12th. Okay. And that's referred to in the settlement agreement. If you look at the very beginning of the settlement agreement.
Okay. So you knew about the sweetheart deal 2 weeks earlier. Fine. That doesn't change the timing of.
There's no sweetheart deal. I don't benefit.
Cents on the dollar is not a sweetheart deal?
I don't benefit, but it's not a sweetheart deal as to me. It's not first of all, it's a settlement, right? So you've got these 4 powerful networks up against a tiny little nonprofit.
And by the way, it's striking.
So,
the one network that didn't sign the agreement was Fox News. Fox News also happens to be the network that you've shown incredible animus towards. I got to say, I've been in the Senate 10 years now. I've never seen a nominee for any regulatory board who at the exact moment of her nomination saw the companies that would be regulated by her effectively give a $31 million, $300,000 gift to a company on whose board she sits. That is truly stunning and it's disturbing.
Senator, respectfully, I'd like to explain.
Sure.
The judge, first of all, Locast was not found to have infringed copyright. They were found to only have not qualified for the congressionally mandated nonprofit exemption. Okay, so the judge did not say, Judge Stanton did not say that Locast violated copyright. It did not impose any liability, and it did not impose a $32 million judgment. Okay?
Is this accurate from what was publicly filed? Quote, plaintiffs are awarded statutory damages under the Copyright Act against sports fans in New York in the amount of $32 million. That's what was publicly announced, and then the private secret agreement it was reduced to $700,000.
Senator, let me explain.
I have to interrupt because I have to go and vote, and I wanted to get a few things in, but I'm going to ask Senator Rosen to take over. Senator Lee is actually next, but I am going to submit something for the record as it relates to privacy. We've been in this big privacy discussion, and the privacy discussion has been also in questions that we've asked to the FTC and FCC commissioners who've been here about whether some of that ISP sector should be.
Madam Chair, are you going to let her answer the question?
Yes, I'm going to. Yes.
Okay, there was a question that.
You mean your question, yes. Senator? Yes. Yes. I'm trying. She's answered this question about 5 times already. That's why I'm trying to get in something because I have to go vote. Unfortunately, we're trying to be very accommodating here, but unlike now the floor is 40 minutes into a vote, and you know that we have a colleague who's trying to cut members off. So I'm trying to put something into the record, and then we'll go to Senator Lee.
So you're not going to let her answer the question?
She's answered it, and yes, she can continue to answer after I leave. Yes, she can do that, and then we'll go to Senator Lee. Okay, the point is, you keep putting misinformation out there, and she'll answer it, and I'll answer it as well. But I'm also trying to get this onto the record. Okay, so please, if you could do it for the record. The issue is moving those ISPs under the FTC versus the FCC. And we had a hearing about broadband, and we also had a hearing about these larger privacy issues of the Facebooks et al., basically violating privacy. Our colleagues on the subcommittee held this very important hearing, and obviously we're working on privacy legislation. And I will submit a question, but this recent FTC report saying that these ISPs also were doing some of the same behaviors that the larger internet companies were doing in violating people's privacy is something we want to get on the record, and maybe it's something we should be having hearings about for the future. Okay, you can go ahead and finish, but we want to get to.
Sure. Senator, you are looking at the stipulated consent judgment and permanent injunction, okay? And that states that the plaintiffs are awarded statutory damages in the amount of $32 million, and that was filed on the 28th, okay? The agreement, the $700,000 agreement, was agreed to long before that. The language is in there because the networks wanted that language. This is language agreed to between Sports Fan Coalition New York and the 4 networks. And the networks wanted that language in order to scare away anybody who might want to start Locast 2.0. That is not the judge.
So you said you didn't sign the secret agreement. I'm holding the signature page of the secret agreement. Your signature is on it with the date of October 27th.
But that's not
amazingly the day before you're nominated. You signed the secret agreement. The public agreement says $32 million. The secret agreement says $700,000, and you kept that secret.
Well, because I wasn't. It's a confidential agreement.
No, under the terms of it, you were not allowed to talk to the press about it, but you were allowed to.
No, that's not what counsel has advised me. It advised me I could not speak about it orally or in writing, but that's beside the point.
That's what the provision says. We're not.
Well, that's how you interpret it, but that's not how I was advised by counsel. But the larger point is that the judge never issued a mandate or said anything about $32 million. That language was part of a negotiation between Sports Fans Coalition New York and the networks. The networks wanted that language in there to scare off any future Locast that might come off in the future, okay? But that was not, the judge did not impose a $32 million fine, okay? That language is there as part of an agreement. And again, that document was filed long after the agreement to pay $700,000 was agreed to, because that was agreed to on October 12th, 2 weeks before I was nominated. And I didn't even know at the time, and neither did the parties, whether and when I would be nominated. I honestly had given up at that point because I had been vetted many, many months before.
So thank you. Senator Lee has been waiting patiently for his time, and we're in the middle of a vote. So Senator Lee, please.
One of the reasons why some hearings like this can become heated and contentious has to do with the immense authority that the FCC has, and that relates to some of the questions I wanted to ask.